What's going on, friends? Welcome to the first Wide World of Electronic Sports exclusive one-on-one interview. I'm your host, Rodney Conyers Jr., aka Rod the Dutch, and with me I have the man, the myth, the legend, one of the few people in the community that I have the pleasure of calling one of my best friends. I have Max Ketchum. How you doing, my brother?
Yo, what is good, Rod? Pleasure to be here, bro. We talk a lot. We're semi-roommates, so, this is going to be as natural as it gets for an interview, guys. But what's going on to everybody watching this as well? Thanks for tuning in.
Let's start about at the origins. Yo, give me some of your first games that you really came up with that really helped propel you into the esports commentator, rap master, caster that you are today.
So, the first game I ever played was Mario Kart 64. I was, I think, 5 years old. I just went to my dad's house one day and he had an N64 ready to go with Mario Kart on it. And I was like, oh, what is this? Like, what's video games? So, yeah, I had a great time at that. I know a lot of people had like older siblings that played video games growing up, but I didn't. So, like, I just randomly got introduced to them. And then, like, the one that really got me hooked and the first one I ever owned was Pokemon Yellow. I got a Game Boy Color for my birthday, my 7th birthday. And I literally like never put that shit down.
Yo, as your neighbor Poke Fiend right there with you. I know they can't see your room and you got the wall full of Pokemon cards, but yo, I keep mine with me too, man. You know, we are Pokemon fiends. You know how it goes, man. So yeah, man, obviously Pokemon Yellow, Mario Kart. I mean, I guess I gotta know, like, did you know that you would always have a career in gaming? Like looking back at Baby Max versus where we're at today at almost 30?
So I definitely didn't expect it to be like this. If anything, like, I thought I would make video games, you know what I'm saying? Because I always used to just get really creative and make games up in my head when I was a kid. I would like put pen to paper on a lot of stuff, like making up stats and like drawing stuff. I was definitely into that end of things. And I guess there's some iconic moments across my time in Smash that have to do with that. But either way, yeah, I always thought the only way to work in video games was to make them. So it wasn't until much later that I thought, maybe like hosting and commentating tournaments would be what makes me my money, or like what my full-time work ends up being. Yeah, that came a lot later down the road.
Most definitely, man. I mean, obviously you've been in the Smash community for, hell, I used to be a middle school teacher. You've been in the community longer than some of my kids have been alive in my class, so I think that certainly says a lot for those of you that know how old 7th and 8th graders are. However, what was the thing that kind of drew you to the Smash community? Because you have a pretty deep background in a lot of different fighting games. I've sat and watched you watch Marvel and Guilty, but what was it about Smash that really pulled you in?
So Smash was actually the only fighting game I'd ever played as a kid. Except I guess Soul Calibur 2 on GameCube. I rented that and then eventually owned it back when we used to rent video games from the store. I like really immediately loved Smash as soon as I played it at a friend's house when I was like 6-7 years old on 64. And I had to have Melee immediately. I had a friend who had Melee before I even knew what it existed, before I had a GameCube. So I like begged my mom to get me one, and she eventually did, like, a couple months down the line. And I was like, yo, like, it's time. I really want to like get really good at this game, beat all my friends, etc. I think I just naturally had that competitive bone in me, even as a kid. So, like, when I was super young, I didn't know anything about the fact that there could ever be tournaments. But when I was like 10 or 11, I found the GameFAQs board, like message board for Melee. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Let me learn some tech and strategies in the game. And I ended up finding like power rankings and, a link to like videos of tournaments and high level play. That was back when like Chillin, Azen, Chu, Ken, Isaiah, like those were the guys. And I could never actually watch the videos because like my computer couldn't run whatever software it had to be on. There was no YouTube. But I just knew like, yo, there's something special going on here with Smash. And I didn't really play like that much after getting super into it. Like, my friends kind of got into other games and stuff. I actually was talking to M2K on AIM before he was even known as Mewtwo King. At like age 10 or 11, I was asking him for strats and shit on AIM, and he like would always respond and always be very helpful. It was really cool. That kind of access to a top player like that isn't even available at this point. Like M2K is flooded with DMs, but yeah, like that was what got me into it at first, but I didn't go to a tournament until many years after that, like 3 years after that, when I was 14 years old.
Damn, man. You're like, this brings me to my next point. I think you're the first Smash commentator, aren't you? Like, aren't you one of the first, or are you the first? We always talk about commentators who can actually play the game. Like, all memes aside, like, you are obviously like top 2 or 3 to ever really do it in Smash. So what really drew you to commentary?
So, am I the first is like a yes and no answer, because to my knowledge, when MLG ran in 2006 and 2007, they had commentary, like husband and wife and others definitely hopped on the mic, but I don't think it was live streamed. To my knowledge, I got to commentate at the first ever Brawl stream that I certainly had ever seen. I don't know if other ones had run before that. I don't know if they included commentary, because like, you know, even the fact that there was a mic there was kind of like iconic. But it was in January 2009, so one of the first commentators for sure. And yeah, you know, there are definitely some like super old heads that were, you know, doing it at the MLG era and even predating like common stream services. And then I guess to address the rest of it, like, you know, like the skill on the sticks, like I would say in Smash 4, I was definitely the best commentator. I don't really compete in Ultimate. In Brawl, I guess I would also be the best commentator in Brawl, but you know, those days, like it was still nebulous whether like what people's roles were in the community. You know, it'd be weird for me to like have just been a commentator or whatever. And then in Melee, dude, there's some killers. Like Vish was top 100 in the world. Chillin' dude was much higher than that, like back in the day, and he's a commentator. So I gotta give big ups to the Melee commentators. Also, guys like Homemade Waffles, Zoo is now a commentator. Like so many extremely talented players in Melee are now commentators, or like have been commentators in the past. Sorry to anyone whose name I missed. Like Phil, I know is disgusting at Melee as well.
Phil is very gross in Melee. He is not to be taken lightly, man. But what drew you to commentary though, bro? Because like, you know, with how nice you were in Brawl and Smash 4 and pretty much most games that you pick up at a semi-competitive level, you know, you seem to do really well. I mean, almost well enough for like the average player who's kind of at that forking road to be like, I should just consistently keep being a player. But for some reason, you jumped over to the, I mean, and I feel like I kind of know the reason myself because I know you personally. But for those at home that don't know, what drew you to being a commentator?
A couple things. Like in Brawl, I started losing interest in the game and playing Marvel more, and I was like, well, I'm still a good commentator and I don't have to like be on my A tier game to be able to beat these guys if I'm commentating, right? So like I can kind of like half-ass playing Brawl and just like do what I'm, you know, better at in terms of like the field, right? And then Smash 4, I don't know what it was for Smash 4 because I did have like a really strong start in that game, but I also just kind of like lost interest in competing, especially when Bayonetta came out. I'm being completely honest. Like, yeah, like I had some like really good results with Cloud, and like I was doing well in that era. But then I was just, I don't know. Like I lost to a couple Bayonettas, and I was like, maybe it's better if I like don't invest as much of myself in this. And you know, also just wanting to flex my skills in different areas, like not flex like, oh, I'm so fucking sick, like. But you know, like become more flexible as a person. So I was super down for behind the scenes stuff. Also, like, you know, I could go to tournaments across the country because they'd fly me out to commentate. Like I wasn't that good as a player, so like I wouldn't get flown out as a guest for bracket, right? So you know, you take what you can get, right? And if you're good at something, like keep doing it.
I mean, you're not wrong, and you're definitely much better than good, and you've been doing it for a long time at this level. So obviously, kudos to you, man. So. Here we are right now, man. You know, you're in the Brawl community, you're in Smash 4, you're in Ultimate. You're pretty much just a pillar in the Smash community in general. Like, people know your name when they hear it. They know your face when they see it. But commentary isn't your only, I guess, skill set, too. I mean, as a player, you're nasty. As a commentator, you're equally as nasty. But here in the last so many years, you've also been TOing at a very top professional level. Now, I know you've called brackets before, like at a local level, like, you know, monthlies or whatever. But, bro, let's make big moves. Can we talk about that? What's going on with that? Let's talk about its inception.
The inception is actually one of my favorite stories, and I think I've only ever told this publicly one time, and it was like after the top 8 or after grand finals of the last one. So like Joe, T.O. Joe from EMG, who's like, you know, the fucking GOAT, basically the GOAT. He's the head honcho of the operation, you know, like any success I have as a TO, I definitely owe to him and the team. These guys, like, they carry the shit out of me on the operations end, I'll be real. Also, go Raptors, TO, baby. Anyway, yeah, so we were at E3 2018 for the Smash Ultimate Invitational and, like, release, or, you know, like, debut, whatever it was, when we would finally get to see the game being played and what it had to offer. So, we obviously were not, like, invited guests or anything. We were just there. We had press badges with Nintendo of Canada, which is pretty lit, so shout out to them for getting it sent. But Yeah, so we just like went to a hookah lounge while all the players and commentators were like at dress rehearsal or whatever, and we were just like kind of like, you know, sullen, right? We were like, damn, bro, like we've been putting our all into this shit for like, you know, our entire like young adult lives, right? At that point, basically like 10 years for both of us or more, and yeah, it just, I don't know, it just felt kind of like crushing, and I know it's like silly to say because only a very select few people get into that, and like it just felt like the ultimate like goal, right? And I don't know, I was just kind of down, and Joe was trying to cheer me up, but like we had been to 2014 in the same situation, right, where we actually, I think, had like a much more realistic shot of being invited as players, and he was just like, yo, like why don't we just run a tournament in Tri-State, like let's expand EMG to the US and shit. I was like, you know what, dude, that actually sounds like a pretty good idea. Like I wasn't so sure at first. I was like, you know, like that's a lot of undertaking. Like I don't know how much of like a move that is for us. I was like, ah, dude, fuck it, let's make moves. And I was like, oh shit, wait a minute, that's what we should call the tournament. And then I don't know, I'm the kind of dude that like when I get a little spark like that in my head, I just, you know, immediately like the ideas come flooding out, and
I know I've heard you freestyle. I've seen it.
But like, you know, if I don't have that spark, I don't like even open the door at all, you know what I'm saying? So like it was just one of those like instant clarity things, and I was like, yo, fuck it, we're gonna run a tournament, we're gonna put ourselves on the map in a big way, we're gonna like show the community who we are, you know, like just like let them know what we're about, we're gonna make some moves, and making moves is what we're about. Yeah, I don't know, it was just kind of like born out of like an upsetty spaghetti place, and yeah, like I don't know, I think the reason it's so fond in my heart is like it was a good way for both me and Joe, because, you know, like EMG has kind of had that disadvantage of being like just the Canadian org or whatever, which I think like didn't get Gommel the hype it deserved, right? And we were like, yo, how do we break the mold? And we both kind of found a way to do it, like as a TO and as a commentator in each of our cases. But yeah, dude, honestly, just shout out to Joe. Like Joe is just like he's a mastermind when it comes to TOing. He can oversee the operation with his eyes closed. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty insane. And the EMG team has all the chops to back it up, bro. Like I would be nothing as a TO without them. And that's where that shit came from. Was just like, yo, fuck it, we gotta like make our mark on the community.
You know, it's funny to hear that, you know, you guys were down in the dumps, because like some of my greatest triumphs as just being in the community myself were shared alongside yourself and Joe and a small group of others. Really just like, you know, you guys plus the EMG and some of the Waveform team back when they were on, you know, different teams as well. Like, you know, the Canada Cup that we did, you know, even as strongly as we felt about that event, we still rocked it. I think both of the EGLXs, I think we did both top 8s for the 2. I know you've been to 3 of the 4. I think I went to 2 of the 4, but either way, like anytime we're together, like we knock it out. Hell, let's make big moves. So like, bro, you put together arguably the first or second most popular event in the community. I would argue, like, I mean, there are obviously some staple events that people just know that they need to go to, but when Gommel and Let's Make Big Moves get announced, like, you know what I'm saying, it's like a break glass event. Why do you think you have that type of pull, like, over the community? Like, what is it about your event that separates itself from others when it comes to the community?
That's funny. We actually just like got this question on a group call that me and Joe were in, like a tournament business related call.
There's no such thing as a coincidence, my brother.
John, I'm gonna borrow Joe's answer. Like it was so godlike, because it's true for both of us, but I just kind of was like not expecting the question, and I was like, oh, like, you know, we know what the people want, which is definitely true. Like my answer was way less compelling. It's like, yeah, we know what the people want, we know how to put on like a good event that feels authentic and all that shit. And Joe was like, because we came from being players first, like we know that perspective better than anyone in terms of TOs, right? Like I feel like a lot of the TOs aren't former competitors. There are definitely some out there though, so props to all the OGs who came from the sticks, you know, and are putting on great shows. But like, yeah, like we just carry like the soul of the people with us, you know what I'm saying? We're like the homie TOs. Everyone kind of like just understands the vibe that we give off, and we're not like faceless suits or anything like that. And again, like there's a lot of TOs that aren't that, but I don't know, I think we just like did a really good job of capturing the vibes for Let's Make Big Moves. Especially like we're just like, yo, what fits New York City Smash, you know, Tri-State Smash, other than an event that has like, you know, a hip-hop theme and like just this kind of like gritty underground grassroots feel and shit. And like that's like who we are, you know what I'm saying? Like we came from those days of Brawl when there were tournaments in dirty basements and shit, and like, you know, we just want to put it on like with the highest production value, but also like preserving that OG vibe.
Yeah, you know, when I went to Gamo, it was certainly the nicest of all the ultimate tournaments I had been to at that point. You know, I liked the way it was done, like up on the big stage. I liked the way commentary was set up. We kind of sat like over the
Production,
audience.
bro.
The production was crazy, and that was like that's certainly one level of, you know, tournaments that I think, or that's one aspect of tournaments that I think people really look for. They look for like the nice production, how it makes them feel, you know, the ambience, all that when you walk in. But then the other part, of course, is like that community grassroots feel. And I'll be honest, like when I went to Let's Make Big Moves, that was really the first time I had, you know, traversed around New York like aimlessly in between commentary blocks. But also the whole like it felt grassroots. It felt like the final level of grassroots before it hit like mindless esports. Like it felt like, yo, this is, I'm bumping elbows. The TO is not like some guy in a blazer that's walking around a clipboard. He's this dude who just picked me up from the airport. Here he is right here. You know, it just felt like you know exactly what the people are thinking.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of the secret sauce. And like, you know, Joe and I competed forever and ever, and like we know that side of things really well. We kind of like, you know, 24-hour venue, for example, Let's Make Moves, since it's possible there, is definitely like a big part of just delivering what the people want. And I don't know, we're not like ever putting on a front for people and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, just being genuine and like never forgetting that like player aspect of your tournament is important. Also, I just want to say like another thing that really helps us out for both events is that we're in prime destinations. Like that's the only S tier that's ever happened in New York City. How insane is that? It's one of the only majors for Smash that's ever happened in Manhattan. So that is huge for the event. And then same for Toronto, which is basically like very similar to New York on so many levels, and it's not that far from the US. A lot of players can drive from the Northeast and stuff and the Midwest. So like accessibility, but also like the prime destinations that are Toronto and New York, really hard to beat that, I think, in general. So that gives us a lot of hype automatically. Look out, guys, because we might have some plans in some other very, very hot destination cities.
There might be some more bigger levels to get on and some bigger moves to be made. And I'm on the ship too, man. Just point me in the right direction on how we gotta get to the promised land, and I'm with it.
Hell yeah, bro. You already know.
Yes, sir. So let's talk about, and this is why I really wanted to interview you, because I know you're going to keep it real, but let's talk about the state of the community. And I know that we have both talked about this personally time and time again since everything, but let's talk about the state of TOing. Let's talk about the state of commentary and like where things can kind of move forward for the future, because a lot of people look to you. As crazy as you and I can kind of get on Twitter, people do look to us for guidance. They know that we're just tweeting and that we actually mean well. So let's talk about TOing, man. Like, how do things need to get better? Like, what are your thoughts on it all?
I don't know. When it comes to like giving advice to the TO game, I feel often like unprepared to prescribe something to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no one size fits all solution. But I think if I had to give just a blanket tip to all TOs, I would say like, I mean, if you can hire somebody to like handle selling sponsorship, or like just undertake that role yourself as a head TO, or you know, get somebody on your team whose job it is to pitch your event to sponsors. And this is something that even like, you know, EMG can do better, but like tournaments should be like focusing on getting the biggest production budget they can for majors. This is, and but even locals and regionals, I feel like you could probably pull like a decent sponsor. Just get the sickest production budget you can, so you can have a sick production, right? Like most people that interact with your tournament, they're going to be seeing it on stream, on Twitter, whatever it is, and not actually physically attending there. So I think just like at the top, especially, that's really important. For locals, I think the local scene is blossoming really well for Ultimate. Locals and regionals all perform like really well now. Just step things up for your community in different ways that you can, like getting more monitors, more setups, whatever it is, and like, you know, make sure you have a spacious venue. And I guess one thing that is important is COVID restrictions now, which I never really consider when giving tips to TOs, but like on the real, guys, you got to make sure like that your tournament requires vaccines and masks. Like I'm not even fucking around when I say that. And it's going to be tough in some states. Like I know Texas Smash has had like a huge debate, especially because kind of like how the social and political climate is down there. A lot of people are not with vaccination and masks and shit in the South. Like that's just the reality of what it is. And that does somewhat bleed into the Smash community. And we've seen players now contracting COVID from events, like, and even in more like blue states, you know, like Washington. I just saw a good player from Washington say that he got COVID and he's double vaxxed, and like probably was taking proper precautions. But if you're not requiring for everyone, then there's definitely a chance of like a breakthrough infection happening like that. You got to just be absolutely on the fucking ball. Like, the tournament's not that important. The extra few dollars in venue fee that you're gonna get from somebody not showing up because like the mask goes against their political beliefs, it's not worth it. So I think yeah, if you want to run a tournament, you got to just enforce that shit. We're gonna definitely be enforcing it at Let's Make Big Moves, and definitely gonna be enforcing it at Gauntlet.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why I definitely rock with you guys, man. I mean, obviously wanting to put the community first in a lot more ways than I just want to make sure everybody gets their hoodie and their free t-shirt, you know, for signing up early and blah blah blah. Like, you know, you can get that anytime, but you can't host a tournament if people aren't safe or if people don't exist because they died. So, you know, we gotta certainly put the people's health first, man. So I appreciate obviously your thoughts on TOing, but what are your thoughts on commentary too, man? Now I ask you this obviously because I kind of know what you're going to say, but also because you've been in the game for as long as you have, doing this at a professional level a lot longer than you've been doing it not at a professional level. And so because of that, you certainly know how to read the terrain and just how to do this. So what are some of your thoughts and concerns?
Yeah, I think one of the most common things I see about commentary is people saying like, oh, the commentators don't know enough about the game, right? And I just want to break that down. Like, I think, yeah, like, there's definitely a lot of truth to that, right? Like, if you're commentating the game, you have a responsibility to be like playing it at least a somewhat high level. You know what I'm saying? You got to know like what's going on. Got to understand the meta game, be able to get inside players' heads and shit. That's super important. But I mean, honestly, I don't think like the commentators at the top are really victims to that. Like, even if you hear them say something wrong, it doesn't mean like they don't know enough about the game. It's like, you know, they might have just made a mistake. So with that said, in my opinion, that is not the thing that needs to be fixed about commentary in Smash. It's that people need to just be pleasant to listen to, right? Like, if you want to be a commentator, that is the baseline expectation and requirement, is that you have to be good to listen to. So whatever that entails, whether it's the way you speak or how you sound when you speak, you know what I'm saying? You gotta like fix that up so you're just engaging and entertaining on a base level. It doesn't have to be funny entertaining, just like keep me hooked, right? And whether that means varying inflections and intonations and shit so it feels like a natural conversation, or just like super being yourself on the mic and not trying to put on like your commentary voice, whatever, or whether that's just working on your play-by-play and your ability to speak for a long time without stuttering or having to pause or using filler words and shit like that. If you take a public speaking course, bro, like even like a 101 level speech course in college, it could do so much for your commentary. And you know, I have only taken like a 101, right? I didn't really pursue that or read any like good books about public speaking or anything. So I can definitely work on this myself. But yeah, man, I think you just have to be enjoyable to listen to, and there's a lot that goes into that. And once you are, you don't have to know shit about the game, to be honest. You can kind of coast on that. And then if you do know stuff about the game, find a good sounding way to get it in there without making it clunky or taking over the conversation and shit. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I think it all does start with that very, very basic fact, is that people have to like listening to you.
Yeah, and you know, when I first met you, I remember telling you like, yo man, like commentary is obviously sick. I was like, yo, you got a really great speaking voice. And I don't know how often you get that or how often you've ever heard it, but I was like, yo, you got a really, like, it's very clear, very concise, you know what I'm saying? Like, enunciate everything very well. And I'm like,
I appreciate that, bro.
It was kind of bred for commentary or bred for some type of public speaking. I don't know, man. He might have a future as bright as like Freddie Mercury or something, man. Maybe you belong on stage or some shit, dude. Who knows? Man, in a perfect world, man. So
yeah.
Here we are, man. You know, Let's Make Big Moves is obviously doing well. It's sold out in, what was it, an hour and some change. And obviously you're still being booked for commentary. You're going to Summit. You know, can we talk about that, man? What are your thoughts on Summit coming up?
It's my favorite event to watch, period, right? Like, because I haven't been at it other than one as a spectator, but like, it's just 4 days straight of fire content. And like, I like the way that they think, you know what I'm saying? They're like doing shit like skits and talent shows and like, you know, just really showcasing who the players are. They did a hot tub stream with Zane and Mango, like just funny shit like that. You know, it makes the players come out of their shells, and I think the Ultimate community kind of really needs that in a big way, where these players do have personalities, but maybe they're just not the best at showing them. And an event like Summit, I think, can kind of like poke the bear and get the more interesting side of some of these kids out, which I'm really looking forward to. But I mean, also the gameplay, right? Like, it'll be the first huge top talent level event that I've been to in over a year and a half. I've been to one in-person tournament since things started to ease up with COVID, or rather since I've been vaccinated, and most people have been vaccinated. I've been to one, and it was a big regional, and it was fun, but it wasn't like Summit, and it wasn't like any major, right? So I just really want to see and cast top level gameplay offline for the first time in forever, dude. Yeah, I kind of fell out of love with Ultimate a lot during the pandemic, but now that things are a little bit brighter, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel may or may not be visible. I don't know. Either way, we can have events again in pretty safe ways. I'm kind of just like coming to appreciate the game a lot more, and I want to see some heads roll.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when it comes to an event like Summit, it seems to be your style of event. Like, I feel like Max at his most, you know, prolific is a Max that's able to chill and just kind of be himself. Not to say we can't really do that on commentary, because professionally we got to let some of our personality bleed through, but we also got to, like, you know, conform to what we got to do. But Summit, bro, just you kicking it with your shoes off and just kind of shooting the shit with the homies. Is the world really ready for that, bro? Are they ready?
I don't know, man. I feel like on one hand, like, you know, the community has seen my face for so many years that, like, I feel like they know me, but I also didn't start really, like, getting loose even on, like, Twitter and shit until just about, like, when Let's Make Big Moves 2020 happened, so a year and a half-ish. So I don't think a lot of people really, like, do know me, you know what I'm saying? And I never kind of, like, put that together, but it does make sense. Yeah, I think some people might be surprised with, like, how I am when I'm just shitting my boys to the highest caliber, but yeah, I don't know. I like to let loose. I like to not be in an uptight professional setting as much as it is great to do, like, traditional tournament commentary. You know, I would love to do it in a setting like this, and it's gonna be really fun. And I hope I get to do some skits and like, you know, cool shit like that, cool activations at the event. I'm definitely down for it.
I'm definitely down to see that range as well, man. So before I let you go, let's talk about your future and just kind of where you want to see yourself in the next so many years. I mean, here we are, you know, two guys almost 30 years old, been pretty much doing what we want for the last, you know, decade of our life in this wonderful community. But what's next? You know, obviously we don't want to commentate forever, or do we? What's up?
So that's a question that I've been honestly, like, kind of wrestling with myself, right? Just especially with the pandemic, you know, I haven't been able to run CSL Smash, which was my former gig, right? That was my full-time work, running the collegiate circuit, and you know, never would have expected that a virus takes over the world and shuts tournaments down, and, you know, I was unable to work because of that. Then the company got bought out, so now, like, the new people don't even know me, so I'm not going back into that, unfortunately, unless, like, a miracle happens, and unless collegiate Smash starts popping again. But do I want to commentate forever is actually kind of a good question, like, because it ties into the future thing. Like, I wouldn't mind. Like, in a perfect world, there's a shitload of money in Smash. I can make a living wage commentating, like, 3 majors a month or something, you know, and I get, like, 1 weekend off to myself that I'm not traveling. Maybe two majors a month would be great. I don't see a way that I could get paid enough to live and, like, support myself and save money off of that. So I also would love to, like, you know, be working full-time in tournament organization, right? If you know, planning shit like Let's Make Big Moves and Friends and associated acts out could be full-time work for me, I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat. Maybe some mixture of that and commentary, freelancing, I don't know. But, like, in the now, while I'm still young, I definitely still am down to do, like, a front-facing role like commentary. And if Smash continues to thrive as an esport and I stay interested, which I really don't see myself losing interest in Smash, at least on the community end and, like, event organization end, I would love to just, like, run tournaments until I retire, you know what I'm saying? Like, that sounds pretty cool. Even if I'm, like, 50 and, like, you know, the little kids running around tournaments, like, know me as, like, the old guy that still runs shit. Like, yo, you Let's Make Big Moves, you're a fucking legend, man. Like, you know, dude, if I'm an old ass guy, I don't really care. That's kind of cool. Like, it's almost like being a teacher at the same time. So yeah, I'm with some shit like that. I would love to stay in esports for the rest of my life. If I didn't, I honestly, like, I'm kind of lost for like a true passion. You know, I was saying, like, we ran that tournament because I got a spark in my head, right? Like, that was what gave me the idea to do Let's Make Big Moves and the passion to actually see it through to completion. There's not much out there that has got me the way that Smash does, and I would love to find it. I'm open to it, but as it stands right now, I want to do esports until I croak, you know what I'm saying?
I would love to see it. I'm sure, you know, everybody that follows you on Twitter, or anybody who just really knows your work, whether casually, competitively, or whatever spectrum, end of the esports spectrum they come from, definitely wants to see it as well, my man. Max, dude, it's always a pleasure to chit chat with you. It's always a treat when two players meet, man. If it was up to me, we would freestyle at the end of this, but
I was thinking that too, bro.
I want to, but this ain't my talk show. Maybe
No,
next time.
good.
We'll do a follow-up one soon, man. In the meantime, though, bro, real quick, do you have like any social medias that you want to plug? I know you stream a little bit, you know, YouTube, anything.
Yeah. You can follow me at @MaxKetchum_ on Twitter, because some German bot has my at on Twitch at just Max Ketchum with no underscore, and Max Ketchum Gaming spelled correctly with an E in there for the chads that know, on YouTube. I definitely do not stream or upload frequently right now, or really like at all. But I'm gonna be getting back into it when Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl comes out, because I think that game's gonna be so raw, and I really want to get in there.
Dude, so that's when we need to do the next one of these. We need to do a follow-up about Nick All Stars Brawl and get the ball rolling on that. Yo,
Yeah.
be so lit. Yo, Max, thank you for tuning in. Friends at home who are here on Shacknews YouTube channel, big shout out to you for tuning in. If that was not enough for you to hit that subscribe button, then honestly, I don't know what it's going to take anymore, because I got the man, the myth, the legend to the left of me here. Friends, keep it locked right here at Shacknews for the latest and greatest in Shacknews video game action. And remember, if it ain't Shaq, it's whack. I'll catch y'all next time.